Being a business owner means you're constantly faced with big decisions. It's everything from, should I launch a new product? Should I offer a discount to that client? Should I try a new CRM system? All of these decisions are on your plate and it can get a little overwhelming. In this video, we're going to talk about how to make the best strategic decisions you can as a business owner and some questions you can ask yourself to get out of decision paralysis and make the best decisions for you. And inside that, we're going to talk about the most common piece of decision making that I think most business owners overlook that lead to them going down wrong paths and wasting a bunch of time that could have been avoided. And if we haven't met, I'm Samantha. I'm a 2-time small business owner, and I'm an operations and systems consultant for coaches, consultants, and service providers. On this channel, we talk about all things small business, productivity and systems, AI and automation, finance, and mindset. So if any of that sounds interesting, we'd love it if you'd hit subscribe down below. So the first thing you have to remember about making decisions is that all decisions are not the same. There are decisions where you know the things that you're choosing between, and this decision is really about what's the best choice to move forward. On the other hand, if you need more clients, but there are literally infinity ways to solve that, that's a very different type of decision. And finally, a decision like whether you should launch a new product or bring on a new employee isn't just about whether that decision will make you more money, help you achieve the goal you want, but how it will affect deeper things in your life, like your lifestyle. Most business owners, I think, get stuck in decisions not because they're indecisive or they don't have enough information, but because they're making one of those latter two category of decisions where there's not necessarily a right answer, or there's a bunch of deeper factors that come into play to making the decision. The analysis paralysis that they get stuck in is often coming from this place of trying to figure out an objectively right decision in a situation where there is no objective right. So step one is really getting clear, what type of decision are you making to begin with? And this may help you get a little bit more clarity about what you're going to need in order to make a decision and actually take action. I'm going to address how I think about making those gnarly subjective decisions, but first let's tackle the more simple, practical type of questions that we were talking about. So if you have a specific problem that you're trying to solve, like you're picking a new software tool or you're deciding whether or not you want to invest in that coach or consultant, here are a couple of questions or exercises that I recommend you ask yourself to help you work through this decision. We know, like they've literally done scientific experiments to prove that the more options you have, the harder it is to decide. So the first thing you can do to make a decision simpler is try to narrow the decision between two options. This can be action and inaction, so like hire the consultant or do nothing, or it can be deciding between two specific options like software tools. The second thing you can do to help work through these types of decisions is clarify what you have to have in the outcome of this decision versus what would be nice to have. This is especially relevant in terms of choosing software tools. Figuring out the feature that actually, if you don't have it, this decision will have been a failure, can help you look through the marketing. And if you're actually in this particular decision, I talk a whole lot more about how to choose a software tool in this video up here, so I go in a whole lot more depth up there. Check that one out. The third thing you can do to help make decisions, these more practical decisions, feel easier is figure out what your risk profile actually looks like. You may have heard the term asymmetric risk, and what that refers to is that the potential reward that you can get on the other side is large when the potential risk is low. So think about this in the scenario, if you could spend $10,000 to make $100,000 versus if you could spend $10,000 to make $10,000. In both scenarios, there's risk. You're risking the $10,000 for a reward that is not guaranteed. But in the $10,000 to $100,000 scenario, your risk is rewarded far more greatly. And in those types of situations, it tends to be worth the risk. It's your business, make the decision that's right for you, but I would just say that. On the other hand, when the risk is asymmetric in the wrong direction, so the reward is good, but you may lose credibility with your clients, or you may lose the trust of your audience, or you have the potential to make $100,000, but you also have the potential to lose $200,000. Those are scenarios that we want to think very closely about and maybe don't make that decision. So thinking about the risk profile can maybe help give a little bit more context to help you think a little bit more clearly, and the decision may become a little clearer that way. The fourth and final way to help you sort of think through these practical decisions is to make it numerical. My favorite way to do this is to calculate the ROI of the decision. And if you've never done that, I actually explain that in more detail in this video up here. It's kind of near the end though, just FYI. And the benefit of ROI is that it actually forces you to put numbers down on the table about what the potential cost is going to be, not just in dollars, but also in terms of your time, and then the potential return on that investment that you could get back. But more importantly, I think the exercise of making it numerical is sort of like flipping a coin, where when you see the two numbers on the board, it may immediately become obvious the thing that you've already decided that you want to do. And so sometimes that can just push you over the edge into having made the decision. But maybe you're not in a situation that is so clear as choosing between two things. Maybe you're in one of those gnarly interconnected situations. These can look like situations with interconnected problems, like why am I not closing more clients, which involves conversion and your sales and your marketing and your operations. Or it could involve situations where there's kind of an argument both ways. Like, should I launch this offer or not? Well, the offer attracts this new audience, but then it could risk dividing your attention, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you 3 common things that I think makes these types of decisions particularly hard for business owners, and then I'm going to give you a phrase that has helped me make so many hard decisions over the years. The first thing that I think makes these types of decisions really hard for small business owners is that you're not actually clear the problem you're trying to solve. This is super common when I have conversations with clients that they're like, I want to bring on more business, but I literally don't have the time and I don't know what is leading to just like the hours evaporating. Or they want to get more visibility in their business, but they don't know really what's holding them back. When you aren't sure what the actual cause of the problem you're trying to solve is, then trying to pick a solution to solve that feels really nerve-wracking because it kind of just feels like throwing a dart at a dartboard. You're not necessarily sure whether it's going to do the thing that you want it to do. So if you're in that situation, I would strongly recommend that you take a step back and really try to diagnose what is the root cause of the problem you're trying to solve. It'll make making the decision on how to solve it a whole lot easier. The second thing that I think makes it really hard for business owners to make these complex strategy decisions is that you're not clear on the trade-offs. So this looks like you know that you want to launch digital products, but you aren't necessarily sure if you're going to like servicing those products and what issues it might bring up in terms of staffing or how you're managing that. And so any decision that you're trying to make in terms of executing on that goal of building a digital product business feels overwhelming with all of the potential things that you haven't wrapped your head around. So in this decision, much like the first one, the best thing you can do is try to take a step back and get a little bit clearer on what are the sort of second order things that might come up. And as you think through this, you tend to actually get clearer on the decision because you realize what trade-offs you are willing to make and what trade-offs you might not. The third thing that I think gets in the way of a lot of business owners making these complex strategic decisions is actually the root problem of both of those 2 that we already talked about, which is that you don't actually know what you want. Now, before you scroll away, you may be like, yeah, I want a successful business. I want to make money. But on those deeper levels, when you really get into the specifics of what you want, things like, do you want to be publicly known or not? Do you want to manage a team or not? Do you want to build your business towards some sort of big external outcome like an IPO or sale or a merger? Or would you be happy running your business until you decide to stop working and you're closing it down, what most people refer to as a lifestyle business? When you get clear about these types of like philosophical what you want for your life and business, you're basically like chopping big arms off the decision tree of all the potential things that you can do. And by restricting your sort of potential paths, as we said earlier, when you narrow the amount of options you have in a decision, you can actually make a decision easier. But once you've considered all of these things, you still have to choose a path forward. And that's where this one phrase has become so important for me. Because let's be clear, like decisions are still hard. I'm a human. And as a recovering perfectionist, I can really swing myself up into anxiety of thinking about all of the potential things that could go wrong or that I might not be thinking of. And what I realized was that I was putting sort of undue stress on myself, trying to think out every potential scenario, everything that could go wrong, all the ways that they could be interconnected to try to make the best decision right now. And so the phrase that has been a game changer for me for my decision making is to trust your future self. So when I'm making a decision, I physically can't think of all of the scenarios that could be. And I also can't predict all the many things that could change in the future. So trying to do all of that future thinking is just taking all of the pressure and potential decisions out there and putting them on today me. And that's part of why decisions were feeling so hard. So when I say to myself, trust your future self, I have to make the best decision today that I have with the information that I have today. And then I can trust my future self that if I made the wrong decision, hey, I can trust my future self to find a solution. I can trust my future self to handle it. If things start to veer wrong, I can trust my future self to sort of see what adjustments need to be made. Or if something starts to go really wrong, I can trust my future self to know that and to cut things off to try to like minimize the damages. So when I remind myself to trust my future self, I have just come back to managing this decision as best as I can with the information right now. And by not putting all of the future pressure on myself, I find that it makes the actual act of making the decision a little easier. One of my favorite things to do is help a business owner work through these really important decisions, but more importantly, just start taking action so that they can start feeling relief. If something in this video helped you make a decision, drop in a comment down below so I can cheer you on. And if you enjoyed anything about this video, we really would appreciate it if you would hit subscribe down below. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.